starting here when you look at your agenda or the sheet. It has like the brief history. And what I did is I took those papers and I was just leaving through them. So I just pulled stuff out of there that I thought was interesting. Because they were saying Dr. Madison, they were saying he was walking from White Marsh. It sounds like he actually walked from Philly when you read that first paper. Like he walked from Philly and he just walked. And he was like 30 years old. And he happened on Ambler because he heard about this quarry, so he went to see about these stones, limestones or something. So when he was walking, he happened on Ambler, and he started looking around, and he was like, wow, this would be a good pharmaceutical plant. So, and that's how they came here.
Ambler was a one-factory town. It was Keasbey and Mattison. The factory was about 4 football lengths long. We used to call it a shingle plant, but it was an asbestos plant making asbestos shingles. And they put row homes there. It was like a barracks kind of thing for the employees there. 3 football fields longer was the mountain. There was a mountain of waste asbestos.
Because if you had a town, like, you know, you built train station towns, that's what's like he did with this. Anything he had a heart to put in, he did it. But it was good for the people, you know, because it create jobs for a lot of people, what he did.
When I was a kid, Keasbey and Mattison ran the whole town. I can remember my father, not at my time, but before us, saying that when his father worked at Keasbey and Mattison, they rented the houses from Keasbey and Mattison. Keasbey and Mattison also had stores. So at the end of the week, when you got your pay, they took out your rent and your food bill. When I was a kid, if they went on strike, the whole town was done. What they did was, on a Wednesday, they would make the movie theater 10 cents or 12 cents so that we could go because nobody had any money. Once the strike was settled, everything went back to the way it was.
It was a busy little town. Back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, it was hustle and bustle. It was a very vibrant town. Ambler used to have little shops, and we used to have a cop directing traffic on Friday nights. It was so busy. And people would come in the shop. And we had a men's store, we had a woman's store, we had a jewelry store. You could buy ties and shoes and dresses and everything.
We grew up and everybody got along. We went to our Italian friends, our Portuguese friends. We went to their house, they came to our house. The only thing was forbidden is dating. But we didn't have all those things people talk about down south and different stuff like that. We didn't see it.
My dad worked at the asbestos plant. He worked in the what they call the wet shop, which is where they actually melt it down or whatever they do with the asbestos. He used to come home looking pure white.
Back in the day, that's the only job they could get, is working in the factory. We had several uncles, my father, another uncle of mine in South Ambler, and 3 or 4 of them did pass away, and they did have a lung problem. They did have a lung problem.
In them days, nobody knew that it was dangerous. Okay? My dad lived to be 86 years old. I know a few of his friends had asbestosis. Back in the day when we were all younger, nobody knew what asbestosis was. People would get sick and they'd die and they would think it was cancer or something like that. I guess years later they realized it was the asbestos which could grow into your system. And my father used to talk about that later on, where it would actually get into your throat and it would grow, and I guess that's what killed you. Other than that, I mean, we just played, the kids all played on there, and we had a baseball field that we cut out at the bottom of the dump, and it was fun times. It was fun times. We didn't know it was dangerous, so.
at that point, at least the senior people of Ambler at that time were beginning to realize there was something wrong here. You know, but
Was it people through like your grandfather getting sick that kind of
yeah, my grandfather. Well, they all worked in the factory, and people started identifying from outside that this was a dangerous entity. And my grandfather was very active in the community, so him and some of his friends started with the legal teams that would come here, and so they were becoming versed on the fact that it was a dangerous entity, and they did sue some of the companies, Nicolette and Keasbey and Mattison, and those, they did have some suits and things going on at that time.